Welcome back to the Empire State of Mind. I'm back here for another video. Thank you guys for coming back for another video. Remember, before I even start the video, please like, comment, and subscribe to the video for more content just like this. So decided that I want to make another video specifically for first-time home buyers. If you saw my last video, you know that I touched on first-time home buyers just a little bit because I knew I wanted to make a follow-up video for first-time home buyers. The purpose of this video is I want to talk about, or I want to pose the question, is this a good time for first-time home buyers to be in real estate? Now, that's a loaded question because first, I feel like being a first-time home buyer sometimes can be just a state of mind. There are some first-time home buyers who are in awesome positions, whether it's good employment, self-employment, there are a lot of first-time home buyers out there that have a lot of money, more money than me or you. So being a first-time home buyer doesn't necessarily mean that your budget is limited. I know sometimes that's the stigma when it comes to being a first-time home buyer because you think, okay, first-time home buyer, I'm seeking out a first-time home buyer program where maybe there's down payment assistance, and that is the case for some of them. That's not all of them. So some first-time home buyers are actually in great positions, whether they've gotten gifts from family or they've just been saving like crazy. Maybe they're coming from a great, maybe they're coming from like a great job in tech here in California. Maybe they're moving to Texas and they make a great income. They're now working from home and they have just an amazing budget. So with that being said, first-time home buyers, I think this is actually an awesome time for a first-time home buyer to get into real estate because if you can afford real estate, and you don't feel like prices are disconnected from your income, you can definitely afford it. It's actually a good time for anybody that can afford real estate to be in real estate because real estate, for me, in my opinion, is a long-term investment. There's some flippers out there. If you're a home flipper, maybe this is not the best time for you. But if you're a first-time home buyer who wants to buy for long-term, maybe you want to upgrade later on down the line and maybe rent this property out later, 2-3 years, I think that's a great time to do that as well. Because really, there is no better time to buy than when your budget allows you to. If you wait 3-4 years down the line for this crash to happen, that has not happened yet, but everybody's been promising you, you don't know what's going to happen with your job. So maybe 3 years down the line, the crash happens, but now you're unemployed. Well, now it's a great time to buy if you had a job. So, I think that when your budget allows you or when your circumstances allow you to buy a home, if you can afford it, you're not blowing all your money on the down payment, meaning you're not putting down $30,000, but now your bank account has zero after it, then I think that's a great time to buy. For me, I felt like last time was a good time for me to buy, except I was a little bit cautious of the prices. I thought the prices were a little escalated, and I still think they are, but I could definitely afford to buy and needed another primary home because I wanted to take my previous home and rent it out for investment purposes, so that's what I did. And you can do the same thing if that's the position that you're in, but then you wouldn't be a first-time home buyer. However, so if you're a first-time home buyer and you can't afford to make that kind of jump, I would say definitely do it. Please don't wait for an alleged housing crash to happen to dictate when you buy a home, especially if you have the means to do so. And you're going to hold the property for 5-10 years. There's no reason why, because real estate has always been a cyclical investment, meaning it's going to go up, it's going to go down based on market conditions. So even if the real estate does go down, it's going to go back up. That's historically what has happened. Take 2008 for example. Prices were at a certain level back in 2008. Now in a lot of areas, including my own area, which is Southern California, I've said in the last video, the prices are actually higher than what they were in 2008. So prices do go up and down. They're always going to fluctuate. But historically, real estate has always been a sound investment. And that's why so many investors invest in real estate. Obviously, they invest in stocks as well. But a lot of the big names, a lot of big firms use real estate as a primary means of investment because it's always been a safe bet. Now, you can always rent your house out later if that's what you choose to do. If you want to upgrade, I've done that several times. That's that's one thing about real estate is you can always take your previous home that was your primary, make it an investment, and buy another primary. If you want to take out equity from that home and use it for a down payment, that's a great tool that you can use to leverage yourself. Don't over leverage yourself, but do it in a safe way. Especially here in Southern California, where prices are very, very high usually, higher than the rest of the nation. If you're going to invest in California, you're gonna need a good down payment basically to go up against some of the people that are buying right now. But I know this is very, very discouraging for first-time home buyers because a lot of them have been reporting back, even to me, people that I know, they've been getting outbidded. They've gone into open houses, you know, on the first date and there's already 10 offers and they don't really know what to do. So it is very discouraging right now for first-time home buyers who maybe, you know, their budget may be limited, especially in like metro areas. That's a very big issue. If your budget is limited in a metro area like Los Angeles, then you're gonna have some stiff competition. You're gonna have a really good agent who maybe will write, you know, a personal letter to the seller explaining why you want this house, you know, the reasons behind it, a little bit of your backstory, maybe a little bit of family history, what ties you to the area, maybe the school district you're into. So some of those things definitely help as far as getting a home as well. Also with first-time home buyers, you know, there's gonna obviously be compromises with any buyer, but I think for first-time home buyers, some compromises are definitely expected. Think outside the box. That's what I would say. When I was a first-time home buyer, I definitely had to think outside the box. You know, what amenities or what things can I live without? Fixer-uppers are a good option as well. One thing that I know that a lot of people don't like to do, but I think it's a very good thing to do, is speaking of thinking outside the box, look outside the box. Look outside that general area that you're thinking of, that maybe inventory is very limited. Maybe look outside the city limits, maybe 5-10 miles out. Prices tend to go down the further you get from your metro area. So that's also very, very helpful. And with work from home, for a lot of people that need to be in the metro area is not, you know, as apparent as you may think that it is, especially in California where we're still technically on lockdown. You know, there's no reason to really be in the city center because there's nothing open. So what's the point of being near shops and, you know, theaters and movie theaters and malls and all these things that are closed and you don't know when they're going to open? There's really no point in looking for a house that's really in the center of all that stuff when none of it's going on. In California, there's no more red carpets, there's no more premieres, there's no more Hollywood showings, there's really none of that going on right now. So, you know, that also should play into your buying decision. And think about your future as well. If you're a younger first-time home buyer and you're maybe close to 30, you know, parting isn't as maybe as big of a necessity as it once was. If you think about having kids, maybe think about moving out to the suburbs of LA, maybe like the Valley, or, you know, maybe out the Inland Empire, Riverside County, Orange County is kind of expensive, but Riverside County, San Bernardino County, look in those areas as well. They're amazing options if you're in SoCal. If you're in other areas, you probably don't know anything I'm talking about because that was very SoCal related. But think outside the box. Look outside your general area. 5-10 miles isn't very far to travel, especially right now. Traffic is very, very light because everybody's working from home. So places that usually would take you 45 minutes to get to in the cities sometimes now take 10 or 15. There's no traffic. So first-time home buyers, I definitely think it's an amazing time for you to buy if you can afford it. If pricing is an issue, I do think there's going to be opportunities at the end of the year for prices to maybe adjust a little bit. So I do think that's coming, but I would not count on it only because we do have high demand. So please keep that in mind. The demand right now is really, really high. So I think that any adjustment period in the housing market is going to get swallowed up pretty quickly by everybody who is qualified to buy, but they're waiting on the sidelines for the perfect home. Because what I'm seeing right now in my area is that when a different home comes on the market, it's snatched up so fast that sometimes you don't even realize that it was even on the market. I've seen homes, when I go on Zillow or Redfin, I see homes that were not there yesterday. They're now on there today, but it already has a pending offer. So I don't really know exactly why that is. I feel like a lot of it has to do with houses being kind of like off market, or, you know, they have like those showings where they put it on the market to test it out to see what the demand is and get an offer, or you have an agent who is representing the seller, but he also has a buyer that he knows wants that particular home. I dealt with that when I sold a home, actually. I sold a home back in 2014 before I bought my home in 2016. I sold a home in 2014. My seller's agent already had a buyer in mind, actually, so he actually sold the home before it technically even went on the market for more than what I was even asking for. And that was back in 2014, so if that happened back in 2014, I know that's happening now. Clearly that's happening now. So first-time home buyers, please, please don't get discouraged. If you are actively looking, think outside the box. Make a list of what you really need. Things that I would say are necessity when it comes to needs. Location does play into that, but I think that a lot of first-time home buyers could budge on location just a little bit when it comes to people working from home. If you're a working from home employee or something like that, there's no reason why you really can't budge on location, I feel. But everybody's situation is a little bit different when it comes to school districts and things like that. But definitely consider your options. And if you're really in an area like Southern California, or a booming economy, or a booming area like I'm in right now, think about other states as well. I've considered moving to Arizona. I considered moving to Texas. A lot of different places have a way better quality of life and a much cheaper cost of living. If you just look at those options, I think some of them can be great options, especially, again, if you're like in an area like California, where we're still in lockdown. Other areas are not on lockdown, so that's also a bonus if you want to go out and do stuff. So that's definitely something that you can look into. First-time homebuyers have a great advantage when it comes to being flexible, though, because they haven't bought a home yet. So a lot of them are very anxious, and sometimes they can be very flexible when it comes to, like, choosing a fixer-upper, or if you're a younger buyer, maybe like imagining what a space could be if you put this amount of work into it. Fixer-uppers are awesome when it comes to making it yours, because I'm the kind of person where if I look at a house, I don't see it so much for what it is as far as like details like backsplashes and paint colors. I really can look past all that because I already know how I am, and I probably would want to change it anyway. So those kind of things don't faze me. I'm not going to buy a home because it has an amazing backsplash. That's just not going to happen, period, because I can change that at any given time. It's not even expensive to do. So those kind of things, I would say look past paint colors, look past backsplashes, and upgraded items like stainless steel appliances. Stainless steel appliances are great to have, but they're pretty universal at this point. I've seen people go crazy for homes that have stainless steel, and I feel like you can go to Lowe's, you can go to Home Depot, buy a stainless steel refrigerator for less than $2,000. So that should not be a deciding factor on a home. Countertop should not be a deciding factor on a home. Cabinet colors can be changed. That should not be a deciding factor on a home. So please do not let those types of things sway you from a home that could potentially be a good contender, but you're stuck on another home that has, a mosaic backsplash versus, a subway tile. That's just not something that you should be pressed about at all. Some people are, you shouldn't be. But again, in the comments, let me know if you're a first-time home buyer. Are you actively looking? Are you waiting on the sidelines for the alleged crash? I say alleged because I don't particularly believe in the crash, but I do believe in the correction. I said that in my last video. Are you on the sidelines? Are you actively looking? Have you been outbid? What steps are you going to take? What conversation are you going to have with your agent to make you better prepare for the next offer? That's important too. Learn from your past letdowns. Learn from the past offers that weren't accepted. Learn from the past offers that were maybe even ignored because they weren't high enough. What are you going to do better to get your offer noticed? What are you going to do next time to stand out from the other 12 offers that house has? I know as the seller on a home, it wasn't always about the price for me. It was also about the person. This is pre-pandemic, but when I sold my last home, I met every buyer that came to look at my house. I personally was there to meet them. I did not stand over them while they looked at the home. I'm the kind of person, I don't want to be there when you look at it. So what I would do is when they would come, I would make sure I have an errand to run or I'd have something to do, because I would basically meet them outside at the door. I'd shake their hand, I'd introduce myself, and I'd ask a little bit about themselves, and then I would take off and I would let them see the house. Well, I did that because I wanted to see who exactly was going to be buying the home. I wanted to make sure that it was somebody who would appreciate the location, appreciate the home, and I didn't want to sell my home to a flipper. I did not want to do that, period. Not that that's a bad thing to do, but when I'm selling a home, to me it's personal because I rarely sell homes. I usually rent them out and then move on to my next home. That's how I obtain rentals. But when I do sell a home, it's for a specific purpose, or it's a reason why I don't want to keep anymore. But I do want to make sure that it's somebody who's, in my opinion, will be good for the home and the neighborhood and my neighbors, because I tend to build relationships with neighbors in homes that I personally live in. My principal residences, I always know the neighbors, so I want to make sure they're going to be a good fit for them as well. There's one thing that I've always hated is when my neighbor would take the highest offer on their home and the person wasn't a good fit, and they didn't get fit in with the neighborhood as far as keeping their lawns nice, or being rowdy or being disrespectful, letting their dog poop all over the common areas. I really didn't want that in the neighborhood. So when my neighbors would move, I would just talk to them, have a conversation like, look, if you're going to sell your home, make sure the person is somebody that the rest of us would get along with. Make sure they're fitting. You know how we are, you know who we are. So please make sure the person is fitting to that. And that's what I like to do when I sell a home as well. And a lot of sellers are like that. And that's where that letter that your agent can write comes in. You know, explain who you are, where you come from, you know, how long you plan on living in the neighborhood. Are you a flipper? You know, let them know all that. That way they can make a decision. Because sometimes with some sellers, if it's a home they've lived in and it's a neighborhood that they value, they're not always going to take the highest offer. Sometimes they're going to look at that letter and say, you know what? This person, their offer is $5,000 less, but I really feel like Susie next door has a lot in common with her. I feel like they would get along really well. Look, she has 2 kids, so does Susie next door. You know, the kids are almost the same age. Look at things like that are personal to sellers. So please, please don't hesitate to ask your agent, you know, about that letter that you can write. They should all, a lot of them will hesitate to do it, but some think it's unnecessary, some think it won't help, but you don't know until you try. You know, I'm looking for houses actively for rentals right now, so I rarely would tell a seller I'm going to use as a rental because some of them don't want their home used as a rental unit. Some of them know, you know, they're okay with it if the price is right, but some of them, the price doesn't matter. If you're going to rent their house out to, you know, if you're going to have, you know, 2 students, then you're going to have a web developer in that room, some of them really don't want that for the neighborhood, so they won't sell you their home. So definitely, if you're going to live in the home, it's going to be for your family, that's when you should really write that letter and make it personal to them. So first-time home buyers, it's a good time. It's a very good time for you, and I think that, you know, there are going to be still opportunities out there, and I really think that you're going to find a great home if you continue to do the work and you don't give up and you persevere and you remain consistent. That's what I feel. So again, like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for watching this video again. Let me know in the comments what you think and what you plan on doing, and if you're actively looking, what techniques are you using in your area to make sure that you are successful in your next home purchase. Thanks a lot, and I'll see you next time.